Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone. Authorities in St. Louis County, Missouri say that a local woman has been arrested and is facing charges this week after she allegedly drove around with her husband on the roof of her vehicle following an argument and led police on a brief chase. According to reports, the incident began sometime on September 28th when 38-year-old Stephanie Boyd and her 31-year-old husband got into a heated argument at their home in the village of Veneta Park. While it's not clear what prompted the fight, what we do know is that things quickly escalated, at which point Boyd allegedly got violent and assaulted the 31-year-old victim. Things got even more dangerous when Boyd went to leave after the attack, at which point her husband clung to the hood of her vehicle, believing this would stop her from going. However, she reportedly got behind the wheel anyway and proceeded to start driving. According to police, Boyd quickly made her way onto Interstate 70, where she traveled for more than 4.5 miles, driving recklessly at varying speeds. After getting off the highway near St. Louis Lambert International Airport, she was spotted by an officer from the Berkeley Police Department who pursued her with his siren on and lights flashing for at least half a mile before she finally pulled over. Boyd was arrested at the scene and is now facing charges of domestic assault and resisting arrest. Thankfully, it appears her husband was not seriously injured as a result of the incident, though Boyd's bond was set at $100,000 after it was deemed that she was a danger to both him and the broader community. According to reports, Boyd had active warrants in 2 other Missouri jurisdictions at the time of her arrest and had also previously been arrested for domestic assault. Authorities in Pinellas County, Florida say that a local man called police only to find himself in handcuffs recently after he tried to report an alleged robbery but evidently failed to think through the context of the situation first. According to reports, the whole thing started sometime on September 22nd when police in the city of Largo received a call from a man named Eric Thomas. The 33-year-old said that he had been the victim of a theft. A customer of his had stolen $10 from him while they were in the middle of a transaction. Things only got more confusing when officers discovered what line of work Thomas was in. You see, the 33-year-old was a drug dealer and had been robbed while trying to sell marijuana. While the man who robbed Thomas was now long gone, he was found to be in possession of more than 40 grams of marijuana as well as 2 baggies of cocaine. In his conversations with police, he apparently also admitted his intent to sell the drugs. As a result, he was arrested and slapped with a pair of felony drug charges. Representatives from North Carolina's Charlotte-Mecklenburg police say that a local man is facing multiple charges this week following a disturbing incident in which he allegedly shot a fast food employee multiple times during an argument over change. The incident reportedly began at around 9:30 p.m. on September 30th when the suspect, 67-year-old Doll Andrew McClendon, pulled into the drive-thru of a Taco Bell location on Albemarle Road in East Charlotte. At first, everything appeared to be going normally. McClendon ordered and was given his food. However, things went sideways when he paid for his meal. Believing he had been given the incorrect amount of change, he became irate and began arguing with staff at the restaurant. After pulling out of the drive-thru line, McClendon reportedly went inside the business, where things escalated in terrifying fashion. Upon arguing further with staff, the 67-year-old allegedly pulled out a gun and fired several shots, hitting one employee several times. Thankfully, it appears the victim, identified only as a 54-year-old man, survived the ordeal, though it said he was rushed to a local hospital where he was treated for life-threatening injuries. McClendon, meanwhile, fled the scene, though was quickly tracked down and arrested at a local apartment complex. The 67-year-old now remains in custody and has been charged with assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill or inflict serious injury and discharging a weapon into an occupied property. Authorities in Georgia's DeKalb and Gwinnett counties released a tragic update in the disappearance of a 48-year-old woman this week, announcing that they had discovered her remains and that her ex-boyfriend has now been charged with her murder. The case began on the evening of September 29th, when police in the city of Brookhaven were contacted by the concerned family members of Amy Lafakis. The 48-year-old mother and grandmother was supposed to have dinner with one of her daughters that night. However, when she failed to show up and couldn't be reached by phone, her daughter drove to her house to check on her. Though Amy's car was still in the driveway, there was no sign of her anywhere. Upon launching an investigation, authorities learned that Amy had last contacted her family members at around 2 o'clock that morning, during what was supposed to be a night out. It soon became clear that she had never returned home. After speaking with those close to Amy, police reportedly turned their attention to her 43-year-old ex-boyfriend, Brandon Weininger. When detectives brought Weininger in for an interview, he allegedly made a number of statements that were quickly determined to be false. He was arrested and charged with kidnapping, concealing the death of another, tampering with evidence, making false statements, and first-degree burglary. Sadly, just a couple of days later, on October 2nd, investigators released a heartbreaking update in the case. The search for Amy had now come to an end. Her remains had been found in a field next to a construction site near Turkey Crossing and Harbin Circle in neighboring Gwinnett County. While neither the cause nor the circumstance of Amy's death had been released at this time, based on statements made by one of her close friends to local news outlets following the tragic discovery, it appears that she was trying to get out of an abusive relationship with Weininger at the time of her alleged murder. The 43-year-old is now facing additional charges related to the crime, including malice murder, felony murder, and aggravated assault. The situation is still developing. Authorities in Shelby County, Tennessee say that a disgraced former sheriff's captain is once again in trouble with the law this week after she allegedly shot a door-to-door salesman completely unprovoked and then offered a bizarre excuse for her actions. The whole situation began just before noon on September 27th when police were called to a home on the 1600 block of Brimhill Cove in the city of Cordova with reports of a shooting. When officers arrived at the scene, they found a man suffering from a gunshot wound to the torso who was rushed to the hospital. Following a thorough search of the residence, police discovered the alleged shooter. It was the home's owner, 51-year-old Monica Johnson Markwork. She was apparently hiding in the house's attic next to a gun. When questioned by officers, Markwork claimed that she had acted in self-defense. She said that her son, who is currently serving a 20-year sentence for sexually assaulting a child, had informed her that a local gang was out to get them. She claimed that the man she had shot was a hitman and that she fired after seeing him running towards her door dressed in a hoodie holding a rifle. The thing was, though, none of these details reportedly aligned with what actually happened. The male victim wasn't a hitman. He was a salesperson for a pest control company. He also wasn't dressed in a hoodie or carrying a rifle. He was dressed in a polo shirt and carrying an iPad. When officers spoke to Markwork's father, who was also home at the time, he said that Markwork had seen the victim coming to the door and had immediately grabbed a weapon, saying, quote, "They're here." She then shot through the front door before running to hide in the attic where police found her. Markwork was arrested at the scene and is now facing a charge of felony aggravated assault. The victim, who has not been identified by name, is now thankfully said to be in stable condition. According to reports, this is not the first time that Markwork has found herself in legal trouble. She was fired from her job as a Shelby County Sheriff's Captain back in 2016 and indicted for official misconduct and for coercing a witness after she allegedly interfered in her son's case. Authorities in Warren County, New Jersey say that a local man is looking at serious prison time this week after he recently crashed his vehicle into a home and a police station, incidents which investigators say were deliberate. According to reports, the whole thing took place sometime on September 20th when the suspect, 34-year-old John Hargreaves, got behind the wheel of his gold Toyota SUV. After driving the vehicle to Liberty Township, he allegedly crashed the SUV through the garage door of a home there before traveling to the nearest police station in neighboring Independence Township. Upon arriving, Hargreaves smashed the SUV into the station, narrowly missing at least one officer and only coming to a stop once he had barreled into the department's squad room. Perhaps most bizarre of all, though, is that authorities say Hargreaves was blaring the Guns N' Roses song "Welcome to the Jungle" over his vehicle's stereo during the crash. When he got out of the SUV immediately afterwards, he also appeared to be celebrating to the music. While the motive behind the first crash at the house was apparently to harass a person that Hargreaves knew there, the 34-year-old's reasoning for smashing into the police station remains unclear. Regardless, though, he is now facing a slew of charges connected to both incidents. Charges which include burglary, criminal mischief, unlawful possession of a weapon, harassment, causing widespread injury or damage, and terrorism. Representatives from California's San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office say that a 29-year-old triple murder suspect is finally in custody this week following a months-long search, though sadly, not before he was allegedly able to kill once again. According to reports, the situation began just before noon on September 30th when police were called to Memorial Park in the city of Upland. It was here, in the park's southeast parking lot, where they allegedly found a 34-year-old man suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Despite the best efforts of emergency responders, sadly, the man ultimately succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene. Not long after the killing, authorities located the alleged shooter, 29-year-old Pete Anthony Renteria. Renteria was no stranger to police. For months, they had been searching for him in connection with a terrifying triple murder. Exactly 8 months earlier, on the night of January 30th, 2023, authorities were called to a home just a few miles away from this week's crime scene, where they found the bodies of 68-year-old Sonia Ramirez, 72-year-old George Ramirez, and 43-year-old David Ramirez. All of them had been shot to death. Renteria was later accused of their murders, with the victims said to be his grandparents and uncle. While no motive has been provided behind either of the two terrifying incidents at the time of this recording, it's said that this week's shooting is believed to have been the result of some sort of personal conflict between Renteria and the unidentified victim. It said that they had been in an altercation at the park earlier that day, after which the 29-year-old returned to attack the male victim. Little has been released about the circumstances that led up to the triple shooting back in January. However, according to a local news source, San Bernardino County deputies had responded to the residents more than 60 times in the 3 years leading up to the disturbing incident. At the time of this recording, the situation is still developing. Representatives from the New York State Police say that a nightmarish ordeal for a young girl and her family thankfully had a happy ending this week after she was found safe following her alleged abduction by a stranger who was trying to extort her parents for ransom money. The disturbing incident began on the evening of September 30th when 9-year-old Charlotte Senna was camping with her parents and two sisters at Moreau Lake State Park in Saratoga County. The family were enjoying themselves and everything appeared to be going well. That was, until about 6:30 p.m., when Charlotte failed to return from a short bike ride near their campsite. After growing concerned, the 9-year-old's parents began to search for her close to a loop where she had been seen just minutes earlier. To their horror, it wasn't long before they discovered her abandoned bicycle. That's when they called 911. The terrifying situation immediately prompted an investigation by the New York State Police, who over the next few hours issued a missing child alert and an Amber Alert. Luckily for authorities, they would soon get a massive break in the case when a man was seen dropping something into the Senna family's mailbox in the early morning hours of October 2nd. This something turned out to be a ransom note demanding $50,000 for Charlotte's safe return. Police got to work processing the note for evidence, managing to recover a fingerprint that returned a match in their database. It belonged to a 47-year-old man who had previously been convicted of a DUI back in 1999. His name was Craig Nelson Ross Jr. Following this revelation, investigators tracked Ross down to a property in the neighboring town of Milton. The property belonged to the 47-year-old's mother, but he lived next to her residence in a trailer. A massive police response was executed at the trailer, during which Ross was successfully placed in custody. Moments after his arrest, Charlotte was found alive in a cabinet inside the trailer. Currently, no detailed update has been given on her condition, though it said she is safe, appears to be in good health, and has been reunited with her family at a local hospital. Not much has been officially released about the alleged ransom motive behind the crime, though an ex-girlfriend of Ross's has since come out and claimed in interviews with media that she believes the Senna family might have been specifically targeted due to money from a legal payout. According to reports, back in 1998, Charlotte's grandfather sued the city of Greenfield after being injured in a sledding accident. He was ultimately awarded $2.2 million, something which Ross's ex-girlfriend, Amanda Preece, says many locals knew about. Preece went on to say that Ross suffers from multiple sclerosis and has used his condition as an excuse for years, stating, quote, "He's never wanted to work. He's always wanted to find people to mooch off of, whether it be girlfriends or making his mother feel bad because his MS is so bad." Preece said that she believed the $50,000 Ross allegedly demanded in his ransom note likely would have set him up for about 4 or 5 years. At the time of this recording, Ross remains in custody and has been charged with first-degree kidnapping, though it's said that more charges could follow. The situation is still developing. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you'd consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.